In one of the last mainstream British commercial airliner designs, the Jetstream proved to be another background success for the UK's aviation industry, with many examples seeing widespread use across the globe. But sadly, the aircraft proved to be not enough to save the home commercial airliner market from eventual collapse. The Jetstream's concept originated in the early 1960s, when Handley Page, one of the few remaining independent British aircraft builders, were desperate to find a short-term solution to their dwindling income. As the British Aircraft Corporation, or BAe, and Hawker Siddeley dominated the supply for large and regional jets, a study by the company into the emerging market showed that there was a rising demand for small regional turboprops with seating for between 12 and 18 passengers, with much of the consideration stemming from American salesman and modification engineer Jack Riley, who helped endear the project in the United States for low-capacity routes in the Midwest and Southern states. Such was the enthusiasm behind the early concepts that a firm order for 20 units was placed by several regional US carriers before a finalized design had even been conceived, with the initial model, which had been penned by Handley Page chief designer Charles Joy, envisaging a 12-seat low-wing monoplane with a high tail and 2 turboprop engines. The fuselage had a strong circular cross-section in order to ease pressurization, enabling the airliner to fly at higher altitudes than contemporary regional turboprops, but it was quickly discovered that the pressurization of the hull made the internal cabin space far too constricted, an issue resolved by lowering the floor to allow passengers stand-up entry and egress through the rear cabin door. Construction of the aircraft took place at a newly built wing of the existing Handley Page factory at Radlett Aerodrome in Hertfordshire, but much of the airliner's construction was outsourced in order to provide further capacity for the somewhat small workforce, with complete wings being constructed by Scottish Aviation at their Prestwick factory south of Glasgow, the tail section being built at Northwest Industries in Edmonton, Canada, and the original power plants for the aircraft being 2 840-horsepower Turbomeca Astazu 14 engines. On August 18, 1967, the new aircraft, now christened the HP-137 Jetstream, took to the skies for the first time, but immediately problems were identified as the Turbomeca engines proved to be both severely underpowered and extremely troublesome, and thus the prototype was taken to the Turbomeca factory in Bourges, France for further examination. In the meantime, Handley Page purchased the US-built Garrett TPE 331 turboprop engines, which successfully attracted the interest of the US Air Force, who made an order for 11 short-range transport and cargo variants of the aircraft, which were fitted with a forward cargo door and 12 removable seats, this aircraft being designated the Hawker Siddeley C-10A, while its civilian counterpart was dubbed the Jetstream 3M. The production version of the Jetstream 1 first flew on December 6, 1968, with 36 units delivered to various carriers by the end of 1969, but continued issues of low power forced Handley Page to develop a new model with more powerful 965-horsepower Astazu 16 engines, resulting in the Jetstream 2. The delay in reaching a suitable power plant was a costly one, as not only did it drive away the US Air Force orders, who cited late delivery as the cause for their withdrawal from the Jetstream program in October 1969, but the development expenses for Handley Page had risen to more than £13 million, an excess of £10 million over the original projected budget. Therefore, the Jetstream forced Handley Page into voluntary liquidation in March 1970, and Jetstream construction ceased after just 39 units, only 3 of which were the modified Jetstream 2s. Fortunately, continued interest in the development of a British-built regional turboprop, together with its prior involvement in the Jetstream program, meant that only months after production had ceased, Scottish Aviation, under its newly formed subsidiary Jetstream Aircraft, restarted production in late 1970 at their Prestwick factory. Jetstream 1 production started first, with another 10 units built and sold, before the Jetstream 2 was reintroduced, now known as the Jetstream 200, with the Royal Air Force placing an order for 26 units in February 1972, which would be used as multi-engine trainers, these being dubbed the Jetstream T1, 14 of which were modified as observer trainers for the Royal Navy and were designated Jetstream T2. Construction of the original Jetstream 200 continued until 1975, after which it was replaced by Scottish Aviation's own brand of Jetstream known as the Mark III. But before the company could begin full development of the new airliner, it was nationalised with BAe and Hawker Siddeley to create British Aerospace or BAe Systems in 1978. Seeing the modest success of the Jetstream, BAe decided they would continue where Scottish Aviation had left off with the Mark III, noting the various engine problems caused by the original Turbomeca power plants, and thus replacing them with Honeywell TPE 331 units that provided 1,020 horsepower, and also garnered interest in the United States. With more power, the size of the aircraft could also be increased, with the new model being able to seat 18 passengers, while the use of water methanol allowed operation at maximum load from a greater range of airfields, particularly unpaved strips in the continental United States and Australia. The resultant BAe Jetstream 31 made its maiden flight on March 28, 1980, and was granted its UK airworthiness certification on June 29, 1982, the aircraft's ability to marry suitable power outputs with a strong but compact design, making it incredibly popular across the globe, especially in the United States, where franchisees of major American carriers, including Braniff International, US Air, Continental Airlines and Pan American World Airways, put the airliners to work on their extensive domestic operations. In 1985, BAe proposed a modified version of the Jetstream 31 with an upgraded engine, which made its first flight in 1988 as the Jetstream Super 31, though sometimes known as the Jetstream 32, while 1985 also saw 4 units sold to the Royal Navy as radar observer trainers, dubbed the Jetstream T3, but these were later used for VIP transport. Production of the Jetstream 31 ended after 13 years in 1993, with 386 units built and sold, making it the third best-selling British airliner in history, a commercial success that spurred on development by BAe, for all future regional turboprops being designated under the Jetstream mark, as was the case of the unrelated BAe Advanced Turboprop, or ATP, a replacement for the Hawker Siddeley HS748 that also went under the name Jetstream 61. Before production of the Jetstream 31 ceased, BAe had developed yet another successor to the design in order to satisfy the ever-increasing demand for regional turboprops on business flights to inner-city airfields. This new airliner, the Jetstream 41, stretching the fuselage by 8 foot 3 inches fore of the wing and 7 foot 9 inches aft, while also being fitted with 1,500 horsepower Allied Signal TPE 331-14 engines mounted in nacelles with increased ground clearance. The increased fuselage length of the Jetstream 41 enabled it to carry up to 30 passengers, and other modifications included improvements to the flight deck layout, with the fitting of a brand new Electronic Flight Instrument System, or EFIS, and a revised windscreen arrangement. The Jetstream 41 first took to the skies on September 25, 1991, with the launch customer for the aircraft being Manx Airlines, but while initial sales were strong, largely fueled by continued customer interest in the outgoing Jetstream 31, it soon became apparent that BAe had overreached themselves with the Jetstream 41, and orders rapidly dropped. The predominant issue of the Jetstream 41 was that as its size increased, it began to leave its original bracket in the commercial aviation market, now competing directly with larger and more popular regional turboprops, such as the ATR 42 and the de Havilland Canada-8, a market in which it was unable to survive. The failure of the Jetstream 41 put the entire program in a dim light with BAe, who at the time was selling the ATP, which was a commercial failure, and the successful BAe 146 jet airliner, which had recently been rebranded as the Avro RJ range, although the popularity of the aircraft was waning as more regional airliners appeared like the Canadair CRJ and the Embraer ERJ. Therefore, in order to cut their losses, BAe chose to abandon the Jetstream 41 program in May 1997 after a production run of only 100 aircraft, with the last unit, Golf Bravo X-Ray Whiskey Mike, departing Prestwick on February 19, 1998, eventually ending up in the hands of the Hong Kong government as a VIP transport, and is now preserved at the runway park on the grounds of the former Hong Kong Kai Tak Airport, having been retired in July 2018. Overall, the Jetstream project, despite its many overarching problems and flaws, proved to be an unexpected success for the British aviation industry during its final years, and even over 2 decades after the final examples rolled off the line, dozens of these aircraft from the Handley Page, Scottish Aviation and BAe production runs can still be found at work across the globe.